Hi guys and welcome to Gaming Watcher. My name is Rolson and in this video we're going through the new Destiny 2 Beyond Light Stasis gameplay trailer that just released by Bungie. And there's a lot of interesting stuff in this trailer. I think Bungie is really going to change up the game with this new expansion Beyond Light, and I'm really excited to see all of this new stuff that they're showing. So let's just get into it, guys. So, in the beginning of the video here, we get our very first look at a Stasis Super, and it looks like a Titan that forms some fists of ice and slams the ground, which sends some ice wave-like thing through the ground in a certain direction. So, this seems a little bit like Fist of Havoc, but instead of just having an area of effect, this seems to be like in a certain direction, so you have to point this attack in a direction, it seems like. And my question for this is also, is this the only attack you can do with this super, or is this the heavy attack and then there's also a light attack with the super, and what might that look like? It looks like ice is coming out of the ground as well. Does this ice stay for a period of time to form some sort of obstacle for the enemies, or does this go away immediately? It looks like it stays, but you don't really see that much in the video, so I'm not quite sure what to think about this. But there are other, as we will see later in the video, there are other kinds of abilities where the ice actually stays around to be kind of an object in the area, a physical object that you can interact with. So maybe with this super, these ice blocks that are coming out of the ground might very well also stay and be kind of an obstacle for the enemies. We don't know, but it sure looks exciting, I think. And the second interesting thing here is this grenade, which forms a platform for you to climb on. So this is totally unique and not something that we have ever seen before in Destiny. At the first glance, this might not seem that important, but if you think about it, this is an absolute game changer. Never before have we been able to build platforms to reach new areas. How will this affect all the current activities in the game? What new strategies will this spawn? Also, we don't know how long this stays for, which is of course important for what it can be used for. How is this going to affect PvP? Like, imagine being somewhere up high where today you know that people can only reach through certain ways. This might change all of that because people suddenly can climb walls and reach higher places. Also, when doing something like a raid or some other more difficult activities, does this make it possible for you to kind of create your own like sniper spot where you get higher up and can stand above all the enemies, kind of taking them out from above? Yeah, I'm really excited to see what kind of new strategies this will spawn. It definitely is something new, and it's something that is going to shake up the meta, I think. So the third interesting part here is we see what seems to be a super. It looks like the hunter with this kind of ice pickaxe thing that we have seen in the previous trailer. It seems like what is happening here is that the hunter jumps up into the air and throws this pickaxe, which then kind of explodes on the enemies, leaving some sort of icy cloud for a period of time. So this might be a little bit like the blade barrage, but with some damage over time added. We see a grenade being thrown that freezes the enemies completely. This is also a total game changer, and it raises some questions. Can this be done in PvP first and foremost? If it can, that is something that is going to completely change up the game. Being able to completely stun your enemies like this, and several at a time, just with a grenade, is insane. I predict that grenade builds are gonna be insane for this meta. Next question that comes to mind is, how long does it last? And do the enemies take damage over time while frozen? Because if so, I can see this being insanely useful. Imagine being able to stun these enemies, letting them take damage over time while focusing on other enemies. That would be a neat little trick. Can they be shattered when they're frozen like this? And if so, does that take something special, or do you just have to damage them enough? So many questions. This next thing is also a complete game changer. There are actually a lot of crazy things in this trailer, and it looks like Bungie is really set on changing up the game, which is awesome. It needs that. So what we see here is a hunter throwing down a grenade that creates this ice wall. Now this might be the very same grenade that we saw in the beginning that created the platform and this is just what happens when you throw this grenade directly into the ground. So what I'm curious about now is, can we make these work together? So for example, if you're 2 hunters on your fire team, can one of you make a wall and then the other one make a platform on that wall by throwing a grenade at it? If so, this would actually give you the ability to build real structures to help you in various situations in the game. As I said, absolutely game-changing stuff. If we just look at the wall though, this is actually also a huge deal. It allows you to completely block off certain ways in a map, so you can kind of block off enemies, maybe even trap them. Imagine 2 hunters trapping a group of enemies with 2 walls placed just right, and then a warlock or a titan blasting them from above. This makes for some very interesting team mechanics. Then in this same clip, the hunter throws what seems to be a ranged melee attack, kind of a throwing star or something like that. It looks like it bounces between enemies and also on the walls. This looks pretty awesome, but the real hard-on moment here is that if you pay close attention, one of the players that the hunter is attacking with this is actually in super, and the super is cancelled. Not only is it cancelled, but it actually looks like it also freezes the guardians completely, just like we saw with the grenade. If this is true, this seems a bit overpowered actually. Cancelling a super and freezing 2 enemies at a time? And if there had been more enemies, would all of them have been frozen? Can you freeze an entire fire team like this? It seems really powerful, that's for sure. So next up, we have what I think is a warlock wielding an ice staff of some sort, freezing a couple of enemies and then a titan coming in from the side, blasting them into pieces, with what looks like a melee attack from this new stasis subclass. Oh, so they can be shattered. I just answered my own question right there. God damn it, Wilson, you're so goddamn awesome, man. You're so good, man. You're the best goddamn Destiny YouTuber there is, man. You're the man. You're a fucking king of Destiny YouTubing, man. I wonder if this is just a warlock melee or if the warlock is in some sort of super here. Would be kind of awesome if the super was just summoning the ice staff and then you had different abilities with the staff. Then we see just a short glimpse of a hunter slamming this ice pickaxe into the ground, doing some sort of area of effect damage, which looks kind of cool. I think this is a part of a super. Again, this might be that the super is just summoning the pickaxe and then you have these different attacks with the pickaxe. So like this might be the heavy attack when you're in the air, there might be a light attack and there might be a light attack in the air, which might be the throwing of the pickaxe that we saw earlier. I don't know, but it sure looks awesome. The next interesting thing in my eyes is this clip where we see the warlock summon this ice staff and afterwards we see him making some kind of shockwave, it looks like. In my opinion, this just supports my theory that this is a super where you summon a staff and then you have different attacks with the staff. It might also just be 3 different attacks that you can choose between, like we have the top, middle and bottom tree today. So in that case you would only be able to have 1 equipped at a time, but I really think that the other case would be awesome. And since Bungie seems to be changing things up, you never know what could happen. Then we see the Titan smash through some enemies with this melee ability that we also saw before. To be perfectly honest, this looks very familiar. I don't think this particular melee ability looks any different from what we already have on the Titan, but I might be wrong. And no, I'm not throwing shade at Titans. People accuse me of that. I don't hate Titans, okay? I just prefer having fun when I play. Okay, let's move on. Then we actually see some kind of weapon here that looks like it is shooting ice. So this might be a first look at a stasis damage type weapon. I'm also quite curious to see how these work, because one interesting thing to me is that with the introduction of an ice damage type, we actually now have 2 opposing damage types. Solar, which represents fire, and stasis that represents ice. So are these going to work against each other, or are we going to have the same system as before where you take down a shield with the same energy type as the shield? So you take down a solar shield with solar damage. It would be cool if solar damage was more effective against stasis shields. Also, we have the opposites of light and dark. So the other damage types are light and stasis is dark. How is this going to affect gameplay? Is this why a stasis Stasis melee attack is cancelling out a super in the video because dark cancels out light. There are a lot of questions raised by this trailer, but one thing I think we can be sure of is that this new damage type is going to change up the game drastically, which is much needed if you ask me, especially since they are removing so much content, which probably is going to mean playing more of the same activities over and over because there are just fewer activities overall. If you want to connect with me or other gaming watchers, feel free to join the Discord, there's a link in the description. If you found this video useful, please leave a like on the video and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And if you don't want to miss any other Destiny news or content, hit that notification bell. As always guys, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.